Sheni v'Chamishi. We're speaking about who the Rebbe sent and gave a bracha to go to higher learning, college, university, higher education, and who we could ask today and get advice from. Things that we don't need an oracle or prophecy or magic books to open up and get magical answers. Things we could do b'derech hateva. The Rebbe always liked to do things b'derech hateva. So if you could ask a posek and a professor and a mashpia such a question, you are most likely to get the best educated guess, educated answer on what we do in regard to hold on, I'm going to continue in a minute. At the Minyan at Shul, another beautiful sunset just visited. There was a young man who just got accepted to UCLA, University, California, Los Angeles, and Westwood, where there's a Shaliach Rabbi Gurevich. That's where Rabbi Kunen's headquarters is. And he told me the good news about getting accepted. But this is like about tshuva with the, fully into Chassidus and everything. And he said, I was in 770 recently, and I was telling somebody that I was applying, and I'm on, very hopeful to get accepted. And some guy who was probably not his close friend or a distant friend, safe to say a random guy who is of the same faith, which happens all the time in religion, where you have someone who he's your brother by faith, but not by blood and not by time, meaning he's not a close friend of yours. And chances are, if the time of emergency happens, like during the Spanish Inquisition, that's the first guy to rat you out because you made that mistake. So it's a random guy, and he goes, never happened. Something about the Rebbe giving people bracha to go to university. So he says, it never happened. But obviously that's not something I'm going to discuss. It's something that would be self-evident, and it will sort itself out. So it's not something I'm going to waste time and argue. Clearly we have people today who are involved in very useful fields of sciences that can clearly tell you that if not for the Rebbe, they would not go study, and they would not be where they are today. So it wasn't like the Rebbe said, oh wow, that's not the sun. Oh, but the sky is beautiful. If you could see it, I don't think you could see it. Oh, you got that. It's not as, unfortunately, I don't know how these myths gained momentum, but some people said, the Rebbe said, since you went to college, so therefore use it for a good thing. No, the Rebbe Lechatchila said that the shlichus was in Olam Hazeh Tacht and Agashmi, and it was in different fields of sciences. Science is a very diverse. Science is an ongoing human adventure. It's full of chidushim. Science is Torah. It's all the chidushim of science are basically chidushim of Torah. The Hakol Nitnu L'Moshe Misinai, and it's just an ongoing human adventure that is always taking itself to many diverse fields and many new heights, and very unexpected chidushim that people have never thought could be answered through science. Many questions are even now not yet scientific, but one day they may become. And there are many questions that we answered already that once upon a time were not scientific, including diseases. We didn't know where disease came from, so many people gave supernatural explanations. The idea with the college, with the higher learning, is the history of, already speaking about the history of mankind and how humans saw the world, their worldview, and their attempts to explain it, and in the case of religion, when possible, to control the world around them, as an outcome of their attempts of understanding things and taking their understanding literally, or their speculations literally. So in the case, what is education is that in mankind's yay, good, chazak. Hi. So he said, we had in the history of the Homo sapien with the animal in terms of survival of the fittest. So when you run, if you know how to run well, you can get food, you can hunt better. So then they started the school. The school was where someone would teach a group of people how to hunt. And and what happens is that the weaker ones who can't run so fast can wait in hiding and set up traps and use their brains. And that's why the humans, the brain mass we're so clever, and we have what animals don't have, the sophistication, the hands and the fingers and all that, are things that we can compensate for the strength that we can't match. The running of a deer, the strength of a lion, the soaring of an eagle. And these, so the goal of school is that someone who's less sophisticated, not as we would think that Rebbe sent special yechidim who are very smart, quite the contrary, those who were less sophisticated, to be able to achieve great heights, to find their calling and their meaning in life. And there is no greater meaning than doing something that you can do best and something that you're interested in. So those who went were very simple guys, and when they accomplished great heights and they became very famous, not just in Chabad, but in religion, you could be famous for organizing something in the religion. Like you could organize a whole kinnis hashluchim, or you could be a fundraiser. But that's like the Chinese food jokes. It leaves you hungry an hour later, because after you did that, then what did you accomplish in the world? You just got people singing and dancing. But in the world, when you accomplish something, it's you give people a formula, an invention, a chidush, or you teach others how to reach the ongoing human adventure and goal of education. So these who went to school and the Rebbe gave them a bracha were not just famous in Chabad. They weren't just doing amazing things about spreading the message, and then after people ask, what is the message? I know you've told us so much about the Rebbe, but what's the message? But these were people who accomplished something in the world. So it could be, not only will it be a Kiddush Lubavitch, but it would be a Kiddush Hashem. And not only will it be a Kiddush Hashem, but it will be something that his family name could be proud of, right? See, if Einstein was a Lubavitcher, so it wouldn't just be a Kiddush Lubavitch, it would be the name Einstein would be Chashiv. So it would be Einstein not using the name of Lubavitch to be famous or to find meaning, but he would be giving the world something, and that would spill over into his group of friends. And the only reason why he would not be a chassid would be maybe not because of the Rebbe. The Rebbe would never send someone like that away, but because of the barking dogs outside and of the palace. As the song goes, Tata, the name that I have, Yehuda Leib, is the Shpala Zayda who made this niggin. And the niggin was Tata vi kenem kumen zu dir as the shomer steht bei der Tier. The shomer is the people who come who don't have anything better to do, and they're barking outside, and their job is to keep trouble away. But the Tata, the Rebbe, the one who is the leader, the king, the Nasi, he would invite you in because he's the one with the seichel. So obviously, if Einstein was a chassid, he would have went to the Rebbe and directly. He wouldn't run away. Or if he wouldn't, it would be only one reason he would be turned off, and that's because of those who create the myths. And the myths come from the lack of education, because education is a cure for ignorance, and people of an educated community, and not just yechidim who are educated in an uneducated community, but when you have people living side by side where the highest degree of people are educated, so they're less likely to believe in myths, pseudoscience, and woo, all this like magic, new age nonsense. And so the question would be, where do all the myths come from? And it doesn't. It usually never comes from the educated. The myths. So why I mentioned about going to university, and we're going to consult with these poskim who have a record of the Rebbe's conversations with them, and also a mashpiyim and a few scientists, is because the Rebbe needed poskim as much as he needed scientists, because a posek is more like a doctor for Yiddishkeit, for religion. He tells you what is the will and the idea of the Chachamim. The Rebbe explained to Professor Branover in Yechidus that many people look at the Rebbe as a Messiah, which is a natural thing. But not only that, they look at him as a magician. And that's also natural. People want those magical, by the Chalukas Adalarim, they would imagine it to be a magical dollar. Some people would put it on their heart for heartburns. Some people would, till today, there's a young man in Crown Heights who went to the Stav recently, and he brought the community a magical dollar from the Rebbe. This is not the outcome of Talmidei Chachamim, and it's not the outcome of a rational, educated people. To call it a Chilul Hashem, it depends on the majority of who's reading the paper, right? It could be he's ziddling the Rebbe, but only in the eyes of the educated. And what's the percentage? It depends on the zip code, who's reading, right? So the Rebbe would consult with the poskim and these scientists to give a clear message of what he said, without it rebounding off some students who were a little bit overzealous. So Yiddishkeit, the Chazal, were very against magicians and messiahs. So some Talmud, and of course Apikarsim also, but Apikarsim wasn't such a big deal, because an Apikarsim is the guy that says, look, I don't believe it. And in worst case, in action, let's say it's not just something he does, he's skeptical, disbelieves, let's say Torah Sinai, but in action he says, you know what, based on my conclusion, Shabbos, I'm taking one Shabbos off, I'm going to the museum. And he packs his wife and kids on the donkey, and they go to see the ruins of Rome, and the Chachamim are very upset. But that's not the real issue. The real issue that the Chachamim had that causes the most damage was the Machashvim and the Mashichei Sheker. So that's why the Rebbe needed these poskim to if he can't save everyone, at least he could save himself and the shluchim who are his shluchim. The message. It's not what is the Rebbe. The Rebbe is the message, right? He's the messenger of Hashem. The shluchim are the messengers of the Rebbe. So, for that, the Rebbe had these poskim advise what is in the framework of Chazal, of Yiddishkeit, of Torah Judaism. Not just magical Judaism has always taken place. The first followers of Jesus were looking for a Messiah who was basically someone who would stand up to Rome, like your big brother who will come home from school and beat up all the bullies. That's what a Messiah was. Yiddishkeit always had these fringe groups, and that's a natural thing in a democracy like America in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, to have Bachrim, like the Rebbe would say by dollars, was wollen die Bachrim?